Dr. Sarah Chen stood at the observation deck of Luna Base Alpha, her dark eyes fixed on the distant stars. Behind the reinforced glass, Earth hung like a blue jewel against the velvet darkness of space. 20 years had passed since the Xeraxian Empire first made contact with humanity, and in those 2 decades, they had never failed to remind Earth of its insignificance. The Xeraxians, with their crystalline ships and matter conversion technology, ruled over thousands of worlds. They saw Earth as nothing more than a quaint backwater, barely worth the effort of monitoring. Their ambassadors attended diplomatic functions with barely concealed disdain, their towering iridescent forms radiating superiority as they discussed humanity's charming attempts at space exploration. Sarah allowed herself a small smile as she thought about what lay hidden beneath the lunar surface. The Xeraxians' arrogance had given Earth exactly what it needed most: time and invisibility. "Dr. Chen," a voice called from behind her. "The quantum core is ready for the final test sequence." Sarah turned to face Captain Marcus Rodriguez, the military liaison for Project Phoenix. His weathered face showed the strain of months spent underground, overseeing the most ambitious scientific undertaking in human history. "Let's not keep our guest waiting," Sarah replied, following him through the pristine white corridors of the public facility. What the Xeraxian observers stationed on Earth didn't know was that this was merely a facade. The real work happened 4 kilometers below, in chambers carved from the lunar bedrock. They passed through 7 security checkpoints before reaching the elevator that would take them to Phoenix Base. As they descended, Sarah reviewed the project's history in her mind. It had started with a seemingly impossible discovery, a way to manipulate the quantum fabric of space itself. While the Xeraxians relied on brute force to push their ships through space, humanity had found a way to work with the fundamental forces of the universe. The elevator doors opened to reveal a cavern large enough to house a small city. In its center stood humanity's answer to Xeraxian supremacy, the Aurora. Unlike the crystalline monoliths of the Empire, the Aurora was sleek and angular, its black carbon nanite hull absorbing light rather than reflecting it. It looked less like a traditional spacecraft and more like a shadow given form. "Beautiful, isn't she?" Marcus murmured as they approached the ship. "Hard to believe we managed to keep this hidden for so long." Sarah nodded, remembering the countless close calls, the elaborate deceptions, the careful misdirection. Every time the Xeraxians had demanded to inspect Earth's military capabilities, they had been shown outdated fusion drives and chemical rockets. Meanwhile, the quantum core technology had developed in secret, funded by a global coalition of nations who had finally found a common cause in preserving human independence. Dr. James Okonjo, Sarah's research partner and the genius behind the quantum core's containment system, waited for them at the ship's main access point. His usual jovial expression was replaced by one of intense concentration. "The simulations are complete," he reported without preamble. "The core is stable at full power. We've achieved 99.97% efficiency in the quantum field generation." Sarah felt her heart rate increase. Those numbers were better than they had dared hope for. "And the stealth systems?" "Perfect," James replied with a hint of pride. "The quantum field doesn't just propel the ship, it masks its signature completely. As far as Xeraxian sensors are concerned, this ship doesn't exist." They entered the Aurora's bridge, where a team of engineers and scientists worked at stations that looked more like art installations than traditional controls. The quantum interface system responded to thought and gesture, allowing for reaction times far faster than physical controls could provide. "Launch window opens in 6 hours, Marcus announced, checking his datapad. "The Xeraxian patrol will be on the far side of Mars. If there was ever a time to test this, it's now." Sarah took her position at the primary control interface. Around her, the bridge crew performed their final checks. 20 years of work, trillions in resources, and the combined intellectual effort of Earth's finest minds had led to this moment. A message flashed across her neural interface. Quantum Cori initialization sequence initi. The Aurora hummed to life, but not with the brutal roar of conventional engines. Instead, it sang, a deep resonance that seemed to vibrate at the edge of perception. The quantum field began to form, invisible to the naked eye, but revolutionary in its implications. Core stability at 100%, James reported. Field integrity nominal. All systems green. Sarah took a deep breath, feeling the weight of the moment. The Ziraxians had dismissed humanity as primitives, incapable of true innovation. They had never bothered to look deeper, to understand the human drive to overcome, to survive, to excel. Their arrogance had become their blindness. "Send the signal to command," she ordered. "Project Phoenix is go." As the Aurora prepared for its first real flight, Sarah thought about the message this would send across the galaxy. Humanity had been underestimated for the last time. The age of Ziraxian dominance was about to end, not with a massive space battle or overwhelming force, but with the quiet revelation that humans had already surpassed them. The Aurora would change everything, and the Ziraxians wouldn't see it coming until it was too late. The Aurora slipped through space like a whisper, its quantum field bending reality around the ship in ways that even its creators didn't fully understand. In the 12 hours since their departure from Luna Base, they had already reached the outer edges of the solar system, a journey that would have taken conventional ships weeks. Captain Rodriguez stood at the command station, watching the tactical display with growing concern. The Ziraxian presence in the system had increased dramatically in the past month. Their crystalline ships hung in high orbit around Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, establishing what they called observation posts, but what Earth's intelligence knew to be forward military bases. New contact. Lieutenant Emma Hayes reported from the sensor station. Ziraxian dreadnought. Designation Crystal Dominion. Just emerged from fold space near Titan. Sarah Chen looked up from her station, exchanging glances with James Okonjo. They hadn't expected the Ziraxians to deploy one of their flagship vessels to Earth's system. Something had changed. Playing intercepted communications, Emma announced, her fingers dancing across the quantum interface. The bridge filled with the distinctive harmonic tones of Ziraxian speech, automatically translated by the ship's AI. By order of the Imperial Throne, Earth's system is now under direct protectorate status. Their continued technological regression presents a risk to Imperial stability. We will assume control of all space-based operations within the next solar cycle. A heavy silence fell over the bridge. This was it, the moment they had feared and prepared for. The Ziraxians had finally decided that Earth wasn't worth the pretense of independence. "They're moving faster than we anticipated," James said, his voice tight with tension. "The evacuation of the Mars colonies isn't complete." Marcus nodded grimly. "They're not planning to give us time to evacuate. This isn't a peacekeeping mission. It's an invasion force." Sarah pulled up the quantum core diagnostics on her display. The experimental drive had performed flawlessly so far, but they had never tested it under combat conditions. "The core is stable. We can engage if necessary." "Multiple ships breaking formation," Emma reported. "They're moving to surround Earth's orbital installations, counting 15 capital ships, at least 30 support vessels." Marcus straightened, his decision made. "We can't wait any longer. If they establish their containment grid, even the Aurora won't be able to operate freely." He opened a channel to Earth Command. "This is Captain Rodriguez. The Ziraxians are initiating hostile action, requesting permission to implement Protocol Omega." The response came immediately in text form, encoded through quantum channels the Ziraxians couldn't detect. "Permission granted. Show them what humanity can do." Sarah's hands moved across her interface, initiating the combat sequences they had drilled countless times in simulation. The quantum core's hum deepened, power flowing through systems that would redefine the nature of space warfare. "Target the nearest support vessel," Marcus ordered. Let's show them exactly what they've been missing while they were busy looking down on us. The Aurora moved with impossible grace, its quantum field allowing it to ignore the traditional laws of inertia. One moment they were hidden behind Titan's bulk. The next, they were within striking distance of a Ziraxian patrol ship. "They haven't detected us," Emma confirmed, wonder in her voice. "The stealth systems are working perfectly." "Quantum lance charge," James reported. "Ready on your mark." Marcus took a deep breath. Fire. The weapon was unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Instead of conventional energy beams or projectiles, the quantum lance created a momentary distortion in spacetime itself. The effect on the Ziraxian vessel was catastrophic. Its crystalline structure, supposedly impervious to conventional weapons, shattered as fundamental forces pulled it in 1,000 different directions at once. The bridge crew watched in stunned silence as the patrol ship broke apart, its pieces spreading out in a glittering cloud against the backdrop of Saturn's rings. "By the stars," James whispered. The simulations didn't do it justice. But there was no time to celebrate. The destruction of their ship had finally alerted the Ziraxians to a presence they couldn't explain. The Crystal Dominion turned ponderously, its massive form betraying the Ziraxians' philosophy of overwhelming force. "Multiple targeting scans," Emma reported. "They're trying to lock onto us, but the quantum field is scattering their sensors." "They're transmitting on all frequencies," Sarah added, "demanding we identify ourselves." Marcus smiled grimly. "Let's give them what they want. Open a channel." The main display flickered to life, showing the bridge of the Crystal Dominion. The Ziraxian High Commander's crystalline form pulsed with angry colors as it recognized the humans on the screen. "This is Captain Marcus Rodriguez of the Earth ship Aurora," Marcus announced, his voice steady. "Your forces are in violation of sovereign human space. Withdraw immediately." The Ziraxians' response was predictably dismissive. "Your species lacks the capability to make demands. Submit to Imperial authority or be." The High Commander's threat was cut short as the Aurora demonstrated its capabilities once again, quantum lance slicing through 2 more support vessels before the Ziraxians could even track their movement. "Perhaps," Marcus replied calmly, "you should reevaluate your assessment of human capabilities." The Crystal Dominion's bridge erupted in activity as the Ziraxians finally began to understand the magnitude of their miscalculation. The Empire had spent so long looking down on Earth that they had failed to look closer, failed to see that humanity had surpassed them in ways they couldn't comprehend. Sarah watched the quantum core readings spike as they prepared for what would come next. The Ziraxians wouldn't retreat easily. Their pride wouldn't allow it. But humanity was ready. The Aurora was just the first of her kind, and the Empire was about to learn that underestimating humans was the last mistake they would ever make. The next 48 hours transformed the political landscape of the galaxy. As news of the Aurora's capabilities spread through subspace channels, the supposedly unshakable certainty of Ziraxian dominance began to crack. The Crystal Dominion hung motionless in space, its command structure paralyzed by an outcome they had never considered possible. On the Aurora's bridge, Sarah Chen monitored the quantum core's performance while encrypted messages flooded in from Earth's deep space listening posts. The reaction across the galaxy was exactly as they had predicted and hoped for. "The Andromedans are mobilizing their defense fleet," Emma reported, sorting through the stream of intercepted communications. "They're refusing Ziraxian orders to support the invasion force. 3 other Protectorate species have followed suit." James looked up from his station, his eyes bright with recognition of the moment's historical significance. "It's not just about the technology anymore. We've shown them the Empire isn't invincible." The tactical display showed the changing positions of Ziraxian forces throughout the solar system. Their carefully planned containment grid had dissolved into chaos as ships attempted to maintain formation while tracking an enemy they couldn't detect. The Aurora's quantum field technology had rendered centuries of Ziraxian military doctrine obsolete overnight. "New transmission from the Crystal Dominion," Emma announced. "They're requesting a diplomatic channel." Marcus exchanged looks with his bridge crew before nodding. Put them through. The holographic display materialized, showing not the High Commander this time, but a different Ziraxian, one whose crystalline form bore the distinctive patterns of the Imperial Diplomatic Corps. When it spoke, the harmonic tones carried an unfamiliar note: uncertainty. "I am Special Emissary Vix," the Ziraxian announced. "The Empire wishes to discuss the current situation." Sarah noticed the careful avoidance of words like demands or orders, a significant shift in typical Ziraxian diplomatic protocol. The Empire was adapting quickly to their new reality. "We're listening," Marcus replied, maintaining the calm authority that had served him well so far. "The Empire recognizes that certain assumptions about Earth's technological capabilities may have been imprecise." The emissary's form shifted through subtle color patterns that the ship's AI identified as indicators of extreme discomfort. "We propose an immediate cessation of hostile activities and the establishment of direct diplomatic relations between Earth and the Imperial throne." Before Marcus could respond, a priority alert flashed across every screen on the bridge. Emma's hands flew across her interface, her expression tightening. Multiple quantum fold signatures detected at the edge of the system. Large ones. The tactical display updated to show a massive Ziraxian battle fleet emerging from fold space, at least 50 capital ships, including 3 dreadnoughts that dwarfed even the Crystal Dominion. The Empire wasn't ready to negotiate in good faith just yet. "It seems," Marcus addressed the emissary, "that your diplomatic overture lacks sincerity." The emissary's color patterns shifted to what might have been embarrassment. "The Empire must maintain order. Surely you understand that we cannot allow." "What you allow is no longer relevant," Marcus interrupted, his voice hard. "Lieutenant Hayes, end transmission." The hologram vanished, leaving the bridge crew to face the reality of their situation. The Aurora was revolutionary, but it was still one ship against an armada. "They're deploying an attack formation," Emma reported. "Energy signatures indicate they're charging weapons." But Sarah was smiling, her fingers dancing across her quantum interface. "They still don't understand. James, are you seeing these readings?" James nodded, his own expression matching hers. "The quantum field is actually getting stronger. Their presence is feeding it somehow, all that potential energy just waiting to be tapped." "Captain," Sarah turned to Marcus, "remember those theoretical applications we discussed? The ones we couldn't test because we needed more ambient energy in the system." Understanding dawned on Marcus's face. "How many ships do you need?" "The more the better," Sarah replied. "The quantum field can use their own energy signatures against them. We're not just one ship anymore. We're a focal point for every bit of power they're pumping into their weapons." The Ziraxian fleet continued its advance, their crystalline ships arranging themselves in the precise geometric patterns that had terrorized countless civilizations. They were about to learn that precision and overwhelming force meant nothing against an enemy who had fundamentally changed the rules of warfare. "They're launching fighters," Emma reported. "First wave approaching. They're passing straight through our previous position." The Aurora danced through space, its movements defying conventional physics. Every attempt to track it, to target it, to predict its path failed as the quantum field bent reality around the ship. But this time, they weren't just avoiding the enemy's attacks. "Quantum core at 200% capacity and rising," James announced, his voice tight with excitement. "The field is successfully converting their energy emissions." Sarah's hands moved in complex patterns above her interface, establishing quantum resonance with their fleet formation. "Ready to initiate cascade effect on your command, Captain." Marcus stood at his station, watching as the massive Ziraxian fleet positioned itself exactly where they needed them to be. Some battles were won through force of arms, others through superior strategy. This one would be won because humanity had simply understood the universe better than their opponents. "Send one last message to the fleet," he ordered. "Tell them that they have 30 seconds to power down their weapons and withdraw." They waited, watching as the ultimatum was met with predictable Ziraxian arrogance. The Empire's ships maintained their positions, weapons charge, shields at maximum. "Time's up," Marcus said quietly. "Show them what happens when you underestimate humanity. Execute cascade sequence." The quantum field expanded, transforming from a defensive shield into something entirely new. The laws of physics themselves seemed to twist as the Aurora turned the Ziraxian fleet's own energy against it. What happened next would be studied in military academies across the galaxy for centuries to come. The quantum cascade rippled through space like a wave through reality itself. When it touched the Ziraxian ships, their crystalline structures didn't shatter or explode. They simply ceased to function. 50 of the most powerful warships ever built hung dead in space, their energy completely drained, their supposedly impervious systems shut down by forces they couldn't comprehend. Sarah Chen watched the energy readings normalize on her display, still barely believing what they had accomplished. The quantum field had performed beyond their most optimistic projections, turning the Ziraxians' own power against them with devastating efficiency. All enemy vessels powered down, Emma reported, her voice steady despite the historic nature of the moment. No life support failures detected. They're alive. Just helpless. Marcus nodded, satisfied. They had proven their point without unnecessary bloodshed, a demonstration of not just technological superiority, but ethical restraint. Open a channel to the flagship. The holographic display showed the bridge of the lead dreadnought, illuminated only by emergency lighting. The Imperial Admiral's crystalline form had dulled to a pale, defeated gray. When he spoke, the usual harmonics of Ziraxian speech were flat and discordant. What have you done to our ships?" "We've given you a choice," Marcus replied calmly. "Your vessels can be restored, but the Empire's relationship with Earth, with all species, must change. The age of Ziraxian dominance is over." As if to emphasize his point, new alerts flashed across the tactical display. Emma's hands moved quickly across her interface, sorting through the incoming data. Multiple fold space signatures detected. "The Andromedan Defense Fleet has arrived, along with..." "Captain, I'm reading ships from at least 6 other protectorate species. They're forming a defensive perimeter around our system." James looked up from his station, understanding dawning on his face. "They're not just coming to help us. They're declaring independence." The news spread across the galaxy at the speed of quantum communications. The Aurora's victory had shattered more than just the Empire's military might. It had broken the psychological chains that had bound countless species to Ziraxian rule. Centuries of careful oppression, of cultivated superiority, undone in a single demonstration of human ingenuity. "Incoming transmission from Earth Command," Emma announced. "Priority 1. The holographic display split, showing both the defeated Ziraxian admiral and the assembled leaders of Earth's unified government. Director Helena Santos, the architect of humanity's long-term resistance strategy, spoke first. "The Empire's ruling council has requested immediate negotiations," she informed them, her expression carefully neutral. "They're offering recognition of Earth's independence and technological sovereignty." "Offering?" Marcus raised an eyebrow. "That implies they have a choice. They're trying to salvage what they can," Sarah interjected, understanding the political maneuvering at play. "If they can frame this as a diplomatic resolution, rather than a military defeat." "It doesn't matter," Helena continued. "What matters is what comes next. Captain Rodriguez, your mission has expanded. The Aurora will serve as Earth's representative in the transition period. Several former protectorate species have requested our assistance in securing their own independence." The implications were staggering. Earth, long dismissed as a primitive backwater, was about to become the centerpiece of a galactic reformation. The quantum technology that had won their freedom could help ensure freedom for others. "There's something else," Emma reported, her voice tight with surprise. "I'm detecting quantum field fluctuations from some of the Aragon ships. Different configurations than ours, but they've been developing their own versions of the technology. In secret, just like us." Sarah moved to Emma's station, studying the readings with growing excitement. The Empire's oppression didn't just drive us to innovate. It drove everyone to innovate. They were so convinced of their superiority that they never noticed the revolution brewing right under their noses. On the main display, the Xeraxian admiral's form had shifted to a deep blue, a color that the ship's AI translated as profound revelation. "You weren't the primitives we thought you were," he said slowly. "None of you were." "No," Marcus agreed. "We were just the first to show it." The next few hours were a flurry of diplomatic activity as representatives from formerly subjugated species arrived on the Aurora. The ship's quantum field technology had started as a weapon, but it was rapidly becoming something far more important, a symbol of resistance, of innovation, of the indomitable spirit of all species who refuse to accept dominion. Sarah found herself working alongside scientists from a dozen different worlds, each bringing their own perspectives and discoveries to the quantum technology they had all separately pioneered. The Andromedans had focused on communication applications, the Centaurians on power generation, the Proximans on computational systems. Together, they represented a technological renaissance that would have been impossible under Xeraxian rule. "We should have seen it coming," James mused as they reviewed the shared technological developments. The Empire was so focused on maintaining their position at the top that they forgot to look behind them. They never realized they were falling behind. As if to emphasize her point, alarms suddenly blared across the Aurora's bridge. Emma's hands flew across her interface, but her expression was calm. This was a situation they had prepared for. "Multiple fold space signatures detected," she reported. "A Xeraxian hardline faction. 3 dreadnoughts and support vessels, attempting to bypass the quantum detection grid." Marcus moved to the command station, but Sarah noticed he wasn't tensing for battle as he once would have. "Signal the defense fleet," he ordered. "Standard containment protocol." The view outside shifted as ships of various designs moved into formation around the Aurora. The quantum fields of multiple vessels synchronized, creating a defensive network that would have been impossible just months ago. The attacking Xeraxian ships emerged from fold space directly into this web of coordinated quantum fields. The result was anticlimactic. The hardliners' weapons, designed to overwhelm through brute force, were simply absorbed and redistributed through the quantum network. Their engines, pushing against the combined quantum fields, went nowhere. The once mighty dreadnoughts hung suspended in space, all their power and fury amounting to nothing. "They still don't understand," James observed quietly. "They think if they just build bigger ships, use more power, they can turn back time. They can't accept that the galaxy has moved beyond them." Sarah watched as diplomatic vessels moved to assist the stranded Xeraxian ships. There would be no destruction today. The new coalition had learned from Earth's example that victory didn't require annihilation. "Send them the standard terms," Marcus ordered, "and make sure they understand that they're welcome to join us, if they're willing to adapt." The diplomatic chamber had fallen silent, the various representatives watching the situation resolve itself without violence. This was the new order they had created, one where cooperation overcame conflict, where shared innovation defeated brute force. The quantum field technology that saved Earth wasn't just a weapon. Sarah realized, speaking almost to herself. It was a metaphor. Success isn't about having the most power. It's about understanding how everything connects, how we're all part of the same cosmic fabric. The view outside showed ships of all designs moving through space, their quantum drives pulsing in harmony. The Aurora, once Earth's sole defender, had become just one part of a greater whole. Humanity had not only secured its own freedom, but had helped forge a new way forward for all species. The age of empire was over. The age of understanding had begun.